Oh, really?
Now, when you are doing the intro, now you got to,
I forgot about it. I mean,
you forgot about it conveniently. Conveniently forgot about it.
Well, okay. Congratulations to you and Yannick Sinner for winning the Wimbledon and for beating Alcaraz this time. This one time in about 5 tries.
Have you spoiled it? It's good to be here another Wednesday, and we enjoyed Sunday. It was a balanced night.
Well, yeah, it was.
Chelsea,
yes. I mean, I was banking my hopes on Chelsea afterwards, but Chelsea lost there like that day.
Come on, they will have to drag you here.
You have to drag me
you here. But that was a great performance by Chelsea. Where did they get that from?
I mean, we've always had it. You understand?
Hey.
We've always had it. Just that, the weather.
Premier League never started. But when you're a goalkeeper, you have to do something about it.
Would you loan us yours?
Well, cry. I hope so much. A kind of injury that you wish that a season-long injury. Right, Kwame, it's good to be back in the studio another Wednesday. What have we got today?
Well, today, one of our friends has a very, very delicate issue, and I'm sure a lot of women probably might have experienced something before or heard about it. It's good education for our women and even our men as well.
Yep.
But let me tell you what her problem is.
Sure.
Says Lexis, I'm 23 years old and I work at a customer call center with the financial institution here in Accra. I first menstruated when I was 12 years old. The initial 18 months were quite unpredictable and associated with lower abdominal pain on most occasions. Now, after this period, however, I have been mostly fine, experiencing predictable menses which last not more than 5 days. In April this year, however, I made a disturbing observation regarding my menses. I bleed and bleed for days on end. In the month of June, I bled for 16 days. Then it stopped, only for it to start again 8 days later. I feel weak most of the time, and this is affecting my work output as well as my social life. I cannot go out to events as I'm not sure about when I'm going to bleed and how much. My organization has a clinic that provides medical services for the staff. However, I'm extremely shy to go and discuss my condition with a male doctor at post, who, by the way, is extremely nice to all the staff who visit. Well, I'll be grateful if you can let the drive doctor tackle my case on the show one of these days. Well, today's the day, Doc.
Right. Kwame, as you earlier described it, very, very delicate issue. But unfortunately, a lot of women do experience what our friend just sent to us. So I'm hoping that...
It's that common?
Yes. But it is also greatly underreported. Because again, unfortunately, the medical profession is dominated by male obstetrician gynecologists or male doctors. So sometimes it's very difficult for females to sometimes come to the hospital and complain about it.
Right.
And also some of them just feel that, okay, women bleed. It's a menstrual thing, so they don't really see it as a medical condition for which they need medical assistance. So I think that it is underreported, one of those conditions that is underreported. But if you look at some of the statistics from other places, about between 10% to 35% of females in the reproductive age group would experience this kind of scenario that she has just described.
Okay.
So it is not a rare thing. It happens more frequently than we think.
Is there a name for this condition?
That's going to be my first test for you. Yes. So we doctor assistant. I say a bit me graduate too.
Me a male health. Me do female health.
Menometrorrhagia.
Huh?
Menometrorrhagia.
So why is it that all the problems with women start with men? Why is it that you have to make sure that all the problems of women, it has to start with men?
Let's say men, women.
This is not fair. This is not fair at all.
You people are the cause of their problems. You have to find a place to put you in there. Right. So menometrorrhagia.
Menometrorrhagia.
Yes. If you take your time, you can, So it's a mouthful, but it is also called abnormal uterine bleeding.
Okay.
So when bleeding or the menstrual cycle, when a woman bleeds, the blood typically is coming from the womb or the uterus, the lining of it. And this menstrual bleeding is greatly under the influence of hormones, reproductive hormones, all right? Or the female hormones. And menometrorrhagia is any vaginal bleeding, all right, that is heavy, long, or irregular, all right. There's another condition called menorrhagia, which simply means heavy bleeding. But this particular one, as our friend described it, I think she mentioned that she doesn't know when she would bleed, and she doesn't know how heavy the bleeding would be. That unpredictability, once it comes in, then it makes it an abnormal uterine bleeding or menometrorrhagia. Right. Having said that, the normal menstrual cycle for most women would be the cycle length, meaning when you have a particular cycle, it will take anywhere between 21 to 35 days before the next cycle happens. All right. So anything between this is normal. And when we were saying that anywhere from 21 days, meaning it is possible to have your menstrual flow twice in a month.
Oh.
For a woman, it is possible. Because they are 31 days for most months. So it is possible for you to have that happening. But then you shouldn't also go beyond 35 days. Once every 35 days. So that's the ceiling. And we call this the cycle length.
Okay.
But then we also have the duration for every menstrual period, the duration. All right. So if you start to bleed today, how many days? Again, the ceiling is 7 days. You shouldn't bleed continuously for 7 days.
For more than 7 days.
For more than 7 days.
Okay.
For a particular cycle. All right. So with this established, now let's look at the signs of menometrorrhagia or abnormal uterine bleeding as our friend described it. So if you are bleeding or you are spotting anytime between your menstrual periods, then we tick the box. All right? That's one. Because a lot of women would know. These days, they have all the apps. When I'm in the consulting room and as part of the history taking, we ask, when was your LMP? When was your last menstrual period? Everybody say, Dr. Meba. Then they whip up their mobile phones and then they're looking. They have an app that tracks their menses. So they know when they last had it, and then they know when next to expect it.
Flow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Kwame.
Why are the ladies saying A? Why are you saying A? What?
We should add Mirabel on the show. We should bring Mirabel to the show. Production team.
I am.
They are all females, eh?
All females.
So they are.
Oliver is there. Oliver is there. Perfect. So.
Right. So there's that predictability. Almost every woman would know when they would have their next menses. So bleeding or spotting any time between the menstrual periods is one sign. Another is unusually long periods. And here we're talking about periods that last for more than 7 days. Kwame, our friend mentioned something. She said her period lasted in June for 16 days or so.
Yes.
Right. Another sign is that you have inconsistent or unpredictable menstrual cycles. All right. And the cycles usually occur fewer than 21 days. Okay, so but from the first day you have your cycle, the next one shouldn't happen shorter than 21 days. It shouldn't. Once
Okay.
that is happening, that is maybe a sign that you're experiencing menometrorrhagia. And then also feeling tired or weak, which Kwame are signs of anemia. So anemia means having blood levels lower than what we expect for your age and sex. All right, then we say anemia. All right, so when you are bleeding for such a long time and you are bleeding too frequently, then you would lose a lot of blood, and the female becomes or experiences signs of anemia, which includes a loss of appetite, but generally fatigue on minimal or with minimal exertion. Now, Kwame, do we know any causes of this particular condition? Well, it is not a simple and a straightforward matter for your doctor to unravel, but yes, we do know about some situations that cause a woman to bleed or have this abnormal uterine bleeding. The first thing is hormonal issues. So, Kwame, as I earlier mentioned, the menstrual cycle is very tightly regulated by the reproductive hormones, as well as even other hormones. So the normal pattern, you would have these reproductive hormones, LH, FSH, progesterone, estrogen. They influence and they control when you would have your menses, and they do it so tightly such that we're able to predict when next it will happen. But sometimes there can be disruptions to the secretion of these hormones, and the secretion always starts in the brain, all right, and then it trickles down and comes to the ovaries, and then subsequently affects the uterus. Sometimes when people have thyroid disease, so Kwame, the thyroid is an organ, we don't see it, but it's located at the anterior aspect of the base of the neck. Well, it's a butterfly-shaped organ, and sometimes it can grow very big, and then we call that a goiter. So I'm sure you've seen it on television many years ago, before we started this whole iodated salt business. Yeah. Unfortunately, most people walk around with some not so pleasant looking swelling at the anterior aspects of their neck. So that's what a goiter is. So thyroid disease can be the reason why you have hormonal imbalances that can cause you to experience menometrorrhagia. And then there's also another condition we call PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's a condition of what we call hyperandrogenism, where the female has more male hormones than she should. So they become much more masculine, and that can also be the reason why they experience that. Also, obesity and then stress can play tricks with your hormones that regulate the menstrual cycle. Okay. So, this is the reason why we don't have to stress women. The man say it's true. Yeah. They can, if they do stress, they may bleed too much. Yeah, so no stress. Okay. That's when a boss who could come today. That's my song. Is it about you? So good, never happen. No stress, because stress can cause hormonal imbalances, and then they can have that. So that is something that we know. Yeah. I mean, the other cause is we have certain growths that occur in the womb. All right. One of which is fibroids, and I think we've talked about fibroids here before. We also have something we call polyps. These are fleshy, balloon-like structures that grow in different parts of the body, including the uterus. Then two other conditions called endometriosis, where you have tissue, the lining tissue of the uterus, popping up in other parts of the body. These are all non-cancerous growths that can cause this particular condition. Kwame, again, infections. All right, pelvic inflammatory disease. So ascending infections, when germs unfortunately move from the vagina into the uterus and then move into the tubes, we call that situation a pelvic inflammatory disease, a PID. All right, if untreated, properly, then it can also be the reason why a woman is bleeding in this manner. Other infections include gonorrhea and then chlamydia, and these two are sexually transmitted infections. So STIs can also be the reason why this is happening. But then there are also other medical conditions. So, for example, Kwame, if you develop liver disease up to a point, you may have problems with blood clotting, for example, and therefore a 5-day, 6-day, 7-day menses can then turn into a 16-day thing. So your doctor would look out for that, as well as some kidney conditions. Kwame, lastly, I want to mention this. Sometimes some women do take emergency contraceptions, and these emergency contraceptions are hormone-based medications. All right, so they go and play tricks with your normal hormone secretion, and sometimes for many months. I've seen someone for about 4 months after taking that emergency contraception still having challenges with her menstrual cycles, meaning she bleeds when she doesn't expect to bleed, and the bleeding usually is longer than she expects. But sometimes also women develop clots in the deep veins of the leg, and then we put them on blood thinners, all right, to prevent additional clot formation. All right, sometimes we call them warfarin as an example, and sometimes this may also cause them to bleed more heavily than normal. So some women are also doing what we call hormone replacement therapy, especially after the menopause. They have it so bad, we want to put the hormones back, and sometimes when we do that, it causes them to bleed. So there are medicines that either doctors give, or sometimes people get over the counter that could also be the reason. So Kwame, these are the various reasons why sometimes a woman would experience this abnormal uterine bleeding, which is unpredictable, which is longer than she would have expected for her menses, and then also mostly heavier than she expected.
Good stuff. Interesting.
But Kwame, there are treatment options, all right? But before we even get there, how would it be diagnosed? Well, I always mention this, that Kwame, diagnosis is not a lab test or a scan. Diagnosis always starts with a history. Your doctor will take a history. A history is a Q&A session, all right? So where you go in, and then in the consulting room, the doctor will ask a series of questions, trying to understand the various etiological factors which I have just described earlier on, to get a sense of it, and then also look out for signs of complications. So, for example, if you are very anemic, then you would have symptoms of severe anemia. So once the history is done, the doctor will conduct a physical examination, try to also again understand the severity of the problem. This physical examination would include a pelvic examination, all right? A pelvic examination, because sometimes you're able to detect some of these conditions that I have talked about. Once these two steps have been taken, then your doctor would request appropriate investigations. Most likely you'll get a full blood count, a blood test where we check your HB levels to want to know whether you've lost blood and how much you have lost. Also get a sense of some of these medical conditions. You'll probably get a hormonal assay done where we measure hormone levels to try and get an understanding of it. You probably will get a liver function test, probably get a kidney function test done, and you're definitely going to take a scan as well of the uterus to look out for the presence of these polyps and endometrial adenomyosis and some other conditions. So thankfully, most of these investigations can be done in most facilities in Ghana.
Okay.
So it shouldn't be a challenge. Um, Based on suspicions we'd have from these tests, then we can do things like an endometrial biopsy. We'll take a little bit of the lining of the womb, give it to a pathologist, for further investigations. Again, these are things that we are able to do in Ghana. Menometrorrhagia is treatable, and the treatment depends on the underlying cause. If it so happens that you have polyps, or it so happens that you have fibroids and that's why you are bleeding, if it's a pelvic inflammatory disease, if it is gonorrhea or whatever it is, then we'll put you on antibiotics. You probably will have surgery for the fibroids or even the polyps. So it is one of those conditions that are treatable, but it depends on the cause.
Okay.
Right.
We are getting lots of messages in here. I know folks have questions about it. You can also WhatsApp us on 055-1111-997. Lexis, my sister-in-law is going through this problem and she's scheduled for operation for fibroids and removal of the womb.
Right.
She's suffered from this goiter before.
Right. So it is possible. And a greater majority of the women who experience menometrorrhagia are perimenopausal or premenopausal, meaning they are very close to the menopause. So you get it somewhere between 40 and 48. Although it can happen in any age group.
Okay.
So, yes.
Nana in Sacramento says, good afternoon, doctor. Thanks for the education. Please, I sometimes have my period twice a month. I really want to get pregnant. Please, is it okay or I need to see a doctor?
So Nana, you need to see a doctor. One, you have reproductive wishes. You want to have a baby. I always say once that decision is taken that I want to have a baby, it's always a good idea to have a chat with a doctor. Kwame, I mentioned the cycle length being between 21 and 35 days.
Yeah.
So having your menses twice a month in itself is not a problem.
Right.
All right. But it depends on what your history has been. So every woman knows, how they bleed.
Yeah.
How often. So if that has changed, then now you need to come in and then just have a conversation or go see your doctor and have a conversation.
Lexis, I used to have periods of 4 days, but now it's only 2. Is it normal?
Yes. So again, the cycle duration is 2 to 7 days. All right. And no woman would go through the whole reproductive period from the day they first menstruate to the last day, the menopause, and keep the same menstrual duration.
Okay.
No, so it varies.
Okay.
So anywhere from 2 to 7 days.
Lexis, please, before doctor leaves, ask him if it's true that when you are close to someone who is menstruating, you may likely have your flow around the same time when it's even not your time yet.
Is
it via Bluetooth?
Is it via Bluetooth? No, scientifically, no. I don't know about that. I haven't actually come across that. Yes. I don't think so.
Because nowadays, digital
menstruation. Because women are in the workplaces, women are in school, in the classroom. So I don't think it's just a lot of coincidence, probably, or you could also have been in a stressful situation and it's not time to have your menses yet, then it happens.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Interesting stuff. I'm sure a lot of women would want to speak to you and get your team to also help them out. What's the number to call?
Yeah, so Kwame, we have a very vibrant women and reproductive, health unit at Medicas. So if you want to reach out to us, it's 0501. Sorry, Kwame, let me take that again. 0501 477 340. 0501 477 340. Our WhatsApp number too is 0501 477 340.
So many messages are coming in. Let me just throw this one in. Please ask for me. Will regular exercise, good sleep, and good diet improve menstrual issues?
You can never go wrong with any of those 4 options. And remember, we talked about stress altering your hormone levels. So good sleep, regular exercise, all these things are ways of dealing with stress. So yes, I would recommend that.
All right, Dr. Osafo, CEO of Medicas Hospital. I know a lot of questions have gone unanswered. So please reach out to him and the team at Medicas, and I'm sure you can pass by East Legon Hills, number 10 Kinchu Street.
Yes.
Or if you're close to the Kwapim range, you can come by Mampo Kwapim, where Medicas Hospital is nestled up the mountains there.
Right.
Thank you, Doc.
You're
Great
welcome.
hanging out with you. And we'll see you next week.
Next week, God.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Alrighty, right. Stay tuned in to Joy 99.7 FM.